build it, you demolish it. The legendary Home Wrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
I want to welcome you back here to Raleigh, North Carolina, here at Moe's Cameron Village in Raleigh with the man himself, head coach Mike Gazzillo, for this episode of Over the Boards with NC State Hockey. Of course, this episode today is brought to you by Moe's Cameron Village in Raleigh. You can find more out about them at 919.catering.moes.com or give them a call at 919-999-3999. And as always, Coach, that is a lot of nines.
It is. You did well, though.
I try. I'm taking some speaking classes this semester. Did some last semester. Got an A+ this time.
Excellent.
Thank you. Huge honor for myself. So another Christmas has passed, Coach. I didn't get a present from you. Did it get lost in the mail?
They didn't deliver it?
I think it got lost in the mail.
That's insane.
I know.
All right, I'll call tomorrow.
Yeah, but still, late last semester, there was a lot to be on everybody's minds, including the mentality of some of your players as well. We left off last time not talking much about the team after the Richmond road trip. So going into late last semester, you're coming into this semester coming very high in the standings. You guys, at the time, I believe were around 14th overall in the entire ACHA Southeast Division standings. What was your mentality heading into break?
I mean, it's a long break, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone has it. So basically, what I was telling the guys is, look where we've come, and if you want to continue it, you've got 6 weeks to stay in shape. Mm-hmm. You can't just take 6 weeks off and get back and think it's going to just happen for you again, So the challenge really wasn't to stay in shape and stay ready to play for me. It was to do it for the guys in the room. And that's what I said. Your commitment has to be to the guys in the locker room as far as what you're going to do over the break. That keeps you ready to go when we get back in January.
And I can't remember if I was talking to you or assistant coach Tim Healy coming up after the break, but one thing that I did notice from you guys is that apparently the team came back after the break and they did fairly well considering all the skating on the first week back of practice, and this was going up to the road game in Virginia Tech, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But coming back from the break, did the team look like they did use that off time well?
Yeah, they did. I wasn't going to bag skate them on Tuesday night, but we definitely wanted to get them going up and down the ice as much as possible, and they look good. I mean, the pace was good, and they weren't, they're tired, but they should have been, but it wasn't like they were dragging. So I was pretty optimistic after Tuesday night's practice.
And also as well with this whole practice and school and of course playing games and everything like that, these players, they have to, really battle hard throughout, a lot of tumultuous times in their life, and coming you from a coach and you yourself being a little bit of a former player if you ever were, how hard is it to be able to manage not only your work and your school and everything like that alongside with your playing?
It's difficult. You got a lot of guys go into, especially freshman year, you're going into the dorms or whatever your living arrangement is, and usually you don't know, so you have to acclimate to that. Classes, it's not, homeroom at 7 o'clock in the morning anymore, right? Mm-hmm. You've got various times, and you got evening classes, and the workload is considerably different. And you got a lot of free time that you have to take that time, and you have to use it wisely, and figure out how you're going to get your study habits. And there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of clubs to join, and fraternities and all that other stuff. So it's tough to balance that and then a hockey schedule or any other sports schedule. But that's where you rely on your upperclassmen to kind of help the new guys coming in, is to get that balance, find that balance as to what you're going to be able to do and what you're going to be able to have to say no to. And it's important for the juniors and seniors to really help those guys.
But those distractions it didn't really hinder your resiliency heading into finals week, of course, with your students as well, taking you guys all the way back to the game against UNC Charlotte, which was by far one of my most favorite games that I've watched this year because of the fact that, so looking forward for tonight's tilt. 12 points in his 9 Shevitz now carries it through. Makes the move. Can he make something happen? you like from that game, especially from former UNC Charlotte 49er Eric Mira?
I mean, well, Eric came to us second semester last year, and we knew right away he was going to be, one of our top 6 guys. His game is great. His demeanor is great. He's a grad student. You can tell he's definitely more mature than a lot of guys in his approach to things. He's been really great to have. The game was good. Some back and forth stuff. A lot of penalties, if I'm not mistaken. So, we got to get through that stuff. We got to stay out of the box, and we have to get through the penalties that we do get. And guys did a good job of it, and that was a pretty good test.
And I believe that was a game in which all 4 offensive units were firing on all cylinders. And we talk about this a lot, of course, but how much do you like the fact that really your top 3 lines are your most prominent scoring lines, and your 4th line is more of a clutch line? You have 12 guys out there on the ice, including your defense, that can contribute offensively, and especially in that game against reigning ACCHL champion UNC Charlotte, how important was to have that offensive caliber team?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge because it's like, Sam and, those guys, they don't have to always feel like all the scoring responsibility is on their shoulders. They can relax a little bit and have some fun, which is what they're supposed to do. Everybody wants to go out and everybody wants to play and everybody wants to contribute. And, when you can get that from 3 or 4 lines and plus your defense, it just makes the team stronger.
And of course, you have a very strong team, but sometimes that mentality, that strong mindset can be hindered when you guys end up traveling on the road. And you guys have seen this in very difficult situations. Now, the team will be traveling to UNC Charlotte on the 26th to face them at the Extreme Ice Center. That's going to be a game in itself. It's going to be difficult not only because Charlotte's a great team, but the environment. Going into these road environments, what does Sam or what do you end up telling the guys in the locker room to just get them ready for a very raucous crowd?
Don't worry about it. I mean, you're playing against the guys on the ice, right? You can't worry about what's being said, to you or anything like that, and you can't worry about what's going on outside the glass. So just focus on the game, and the rest of it will take care of itself. So I would say, that has to be a non-entity. If we're going to stay in the game, it has to be a non-entity there.
And I don't think it's been a problem so far this semester. Of course, you guys are undefeated on the road, on a home ice, undefeated in general, 7th in the ACHA Southeast Division standings. Do you guys expect that to go up by the time they redo the rankings?
I don't know what the other teams are doing. Listen, you can only do what you can do, right? So we're going out and we're working hard, and we're putting our best foot forward, and I'd like to see it go up, but, if other teams have good nights too, and maybe they played a tougher opponent, not that I'm taking anything away from Virginia Tech by any means, but if they play somebody who's ranked higher than they are and, or lower than they are, and they, they did well, then, they may get a little bit more of a bump. So I don't get involved in, who's making the decisions on who gets placed where. That's not in my pay grade. That's just they do what they got to do, and I take care of what I got to take care of, and we'll go from there.
Of course, now the big thing is you guys on the road have faced some difficult crowds, the most difficult being the University of Virginia crowd, which was at the, I forgot the name of the arena for the life of me, but the big story was they are tearing that down for a parking garage now. So wherever this new University of Virginia team is playing, if you guys end up seeing them in the near future, which is not going to happen for the rest of the regular season, how are you guys going to get ready for a mentality like that? Because Virginia not only has a great team, but a great fan base.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing out of Richmond. We tried to get a game with them early on. They couldn't do it. Then they tried to get us a little bit later on. We couldn't do it. It really would have been a good year to have played them since both teams are doing really well. But again, you can't really worry about what's going on outside the glass. So, I don't want the guys on the bench looking to see what's going on or listening or anything, and I don't want the guys on the ice worrying about what's being said, and, just you just got to stay focused. That's all it comes down to.
And everyone needs to stay focused for sure. But during that Wake Forest game, and we obviously can't say enough about Leif Jardal and his performance as well, but his continued scoring surge is something that just cannot be, left alone to talk about. How much have you liked from Leif, from the fact that he not only is able to balance, a hockey schedule, but the fact that he's able to sell houses to basically everyone in North Carolina?
He's a pretty solid overall character. I don't mean character in a bad way. He's definitely a good guy. The guys love him on the team. Obviously, he has a pretty good mindset in terms of being able to do those things, and he does them well. And that's a credit to him, and it's a credit to the guys who look up to somebody like him. He came back from break, and he was in great shape, and obviously it's important to him, because he's he hit the ground run pretty heavy in Virginia Tech. So again, the guys feed off of that, and I think he's really been a huge plus for us this year.
And one thing I want to talk about before we go into commercial break here, your mentality as a coach is something that not a lot of people are able to talk about. Not exactly the X's and O's, but the sort of what goes behind of being a coach. You guys have to come into a room every single day of late teenagers, early 20s, and these are guys that are very unfocused, and they may have difficulties going on in their young lives, everything like that. As a coach, how much have you grown over the years in being able to sort of handle a group of guys like that? But more importantly, what is the emotional capabilities of a coach?
Well, I think with these guys, sometimes they really don't necessarily want to come to me. I'm probably too much of like a father figure, or, well, in a sense, they don't want to get yelled at or whatever. I put a lot, and I've learned to put a lot more on the upperclassmen, the captains, the team leaders. They all know, whether it's their first day or they've been with me for a couple of years, that my door's always open. They know they can call, text, email, whatever they want to do. They know the conversations are confidential if that's what they need to be. They know we're there to get them the help that they need if in fact that's what they need. Or if they just need to talk, that's fine too. Some guys are more open than others, and that's just, personalities. So I don't push. I try to kind of touch base with everybody somewhere along the line and just see how they're doing and how school's going and stuff like that, and try to read how they are in practice, But same thing like Tim or Alex, they'll pick up on something if it's not looking right. But other than that, they're going to come to you if they really need to or if they want to, and if not, you got to give them some space.
So if I don't get a pay raise here, you think I can step in and be a good coach over there?
No.
That sounds about right, Coach. Thanks for the support. Always grateful for you. But one thing before going into break as well, the fact that you guys have gone 15-0 this season is outstanding. But does those numbers, specific stats, ring in those guys' heads at all before going into every game? Like, oh, I need to get my 22nd goal of the year, like with Sam Benishevitz, or I need to get my first assist, or is it more of a team game?
I don't think. Maybe to some guys, like they know where they're at and they know, oh, if I get one tonight, I've got this or that, or they don't make a habit of like talking about it. I've never heard one guy say, "Hey, can you put me on the ice so I can get a hat trick?" Mm-hmm. I have heard the other guys say, "Hey, Parker's got 2. Can we get him out there towards the end?"
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, I have no problem with that. But that's the team looking out for team goals and individual. Mm-hmm. That's not the individual looking for the individual. So if guys are focused on their numbers, they don't make it known to me. And I've never really seen anything during a game that would indicate to me that anybody's playing for their own individual purpose. So, again, that's good leadership on the team, and that's what makes us successful.
Strong insight as always from the man himself, head coach Mike Gazzillo. We're going to take a quick break right here on Over the Boards. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Boards!
build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20 plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
We are now back here at Moe's Camera Village in Raleigh for the second half of Over the Boards with head coach Mike Gazzillo, the now aforementioned Dream Killer. Thank you very much. I've always had dreams of becoming a coach. So, a lot of inspiration coming from someone I look up to.
That's what I'm here for.
You know, father figure, like you said yourself. But more importantly, coach, going into the second half of this semester, and it's something that I talked to Sam after the Virginia Tech game actually about the growth of hockey in North Carolina, and we're going to see this actually with the third backyard brawl of this year. I believe now I haven't really kept count, but this is probably the 7th backyard brawl in history at this point, or the 6th, one or the other, but still. And the attendance has been slowly increasing over time. How much has the growth of hockey in North Carolina meant to you and to the team?
I mean, I think it means a lot, actually, not only to me, but the other coaches on the Carolina teams, right? When you get a lot of the local kids coming out and, you know, they want to play, they know it's not just state, you know, and then they know it's not just Carolina, that there's, you know, the other schools, they start to follow what, you know, we're doing. Some of them come to some of the home games, you know, so they'll see other teams and, oh, this one has a team or that one has a team. They'll follow that a little bit. So, you know, anything that we do that benefits youth hockey and gives these kids a chance to you know, think about where they're going to continue their hockey when their youth hockey days are done. And if it's here, I think that's great.
And especially that, coach, but not only has NC State hockey done outstanding things as well, and you guys have seen the impact. These guys are volunteering with special needs hockey organizations, other youth hockey teams in the area, helping them skate and everything like that. There's been considerable upcharging with the Fayetteville Marksmen, who are a very popular team right now over there in Fayetteville, but as well the Hurricanes, even the Tar Heels. There's been a lot of teams going on. Is there some sort of group that's being assembled sort of with these hockey teams to come together and build it, or is it just several different teams and they're all supporting each other?
I'm not aware of any kind of group like that. It may be going on. I'm just not in that social
So it's
circle,
more of a support thing. Everybody's
yeah,
kind of supporting each other.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, and it's obviously very important. As you can see, attendance has gone up steadily, and more people are associating hockey with the Tar Heel State, of course. But I wanted to get your thoughts on something, and this is some fairly new information heading into this. There's going to be a merger now with, let me get the name right here, the ECCHA and BRHC. I'm not exactly sure what that stands for.
Blue Ridge.
The Blue Ridge?
Mm-hmm. That's Blue Ridge.
So it's going to get to a point now where there's going to be 32 teams in the ACCHL under Commissioner Mike Wally. What is this going to mean for you, for NC State, and the rest of the current ACC?
Honestly, it doesn't change anything because they're going to stay as a Division III organization and program.
Okay.
And we're staying with our Division II, and so none of that's going to change. It probably will help that other team to play under the ACC umbrella, but again, we're still going to play the same teams we play, and we're still going to do the same things that we've been doing. So it doesn't really change anything.
Okay, and not going to change anything, of course, is a big thing, and especially with teams like Virginia Tech, who you guys ended up playing last Friday. It's not going to change the fact that you guys, had an outstanding rout of them, 7-4, had some lapses towards the end, but this, of course, was the first game back. You had to get some gas under those legs. So what did you like from the team, and what would you like to see going forward after that game?
I thought we had a really strong first period.
Yep.
I thought our transition game was really, really good. That to me is kind of a big thing. If you lose possession and you can get it back, or you get possession and you can advance the puck into the offensive zone quick, that's just going to lead to scoring chances. And so I thought we did a great job with that. There were a couple of mistakes that were made. But, hey, it's going to happen, right? So you got to put it behind you, and that's what I told a couple of the guys that made the mistake. Just put it behind you, just move forward. I think we got a little slower as the game went on. I don't think we had quite the I wanted to see the intensity of the first period last the whole game, but I don't really necessarily think that happened. But again, yeah, it's the first one back, and so it's something that we talked about, and it's something that we'll work on a little bit.
And one thing I liked, and it's something that we talked about at the end of last season, is your transition game. It has improved so much, and I saw this in the Virginia Tech game. Of course, it was the first game back, but you guys did such a good job of moving that puck up. And besides a few kind of misfire passes from some of the guys like Seppi and Halko, it's the fact that they were able to move the puck up so well and generate just consistent opportunities and chances behind the net, against a very solid goaltender from what I saw, from up on the track. So in your thoughts, how has your play with the puck and without the puck really improved since the beginning of the season?
Well, I mean, with the puck, like you said, we're moving it well. We'd like to see a little bit more shots generated. Mm-hmm. That would be something that we could work on. And without, I mean, the forecheck is good. The guys know where they need to be, and they're kind of aggressive on trying to get the puck back. Devin and Brandon had a couple of missed passes, but at the same time, they did some really good things during the game too. They made some really good plays, so they were able to put that past them, and they made some pretty good contributions to the team. So I was definitely happy about that.
And moving forward as well, what are going to be the sort of the plans and practice sort of heading into the ACC tournament? And we're going to talk about the tournament in a second here, but what is it going to mean in terms of practices going forward? Because I know you don't really like to test the guys too hard heading into very important games, but what is going to be your main point of focus in practice?
Well, I'll meet with Tim and Alex tomorrow night, and we're going to kind of go over. We have 10 practices left till that tournament, so want to hit a few things going into the Charlotte weekend, and that's kind of like my midpoint. Might not exactly be mid, but it's close enough. And then after that weekend, the things that I want to tighten up going into the tournament. So, I want to hear from Tim what he sees from the D. I want to hear from Alex what he sees from the goaltending. I want to share with them what I see from the team overall and with the offense. And then we'll probably formulate a game plan more from there.
And the one thing, and I know I'm saying one thing over and over again, I like to have a lot of one more thing, so that's just probably my niche now. My bad, of course. Probably going to hear one more thing said about maybe 10 more times, so 10 more things. Let's leave it at that. But your face-off plays this year have been relatively well. I've noticed a lot of times, especially going back to, I believe it was the first backyard brawl, it was Alex Vedetta that came in and had a really nice backhand shot. How much have face-offs played into your team this year? And you guys finally have 4 very capable centers, starting with Nikita Anastratov, finishing off, of course, with Eric Todd, who played on the first line last year. So you have 4 very capable centers. How much has face-offs really played into this season?
Well, I mean, it's been really well, really good. I really haven't worked on it because I really haven't. I mean, look, you can always work on everything, right? But if something's going pretty well and there's other things I could focus on, I've only got 2 hours in a week. So I kind of put that aside, but yeah, I mean, they're doing it. All 4 guys are doing a great job, and I think you win it. Now you've got possession, right? Once you start with possession, you've got the upper hand. So they're doing well. They're talking about where they want their wingers to be, and they're focused. And I think it just helps us overall with our time of possession.
And going into these next few games, it does look relatively easy on paper, but the road ahead before the ACC tournament, of course, you're going to be facing teams like ECU, an opponent you did not see last year, Wilmington, who has had their struggles this year, and of course now the third backyard brawl. What is it going to mean in going into these final few games? Are you going to be starting to recycle some of your regularly scratched players to sort of leave your starters for the tournament, or are you going to start to just keep going with the same lineup?
No. First off, I encourage my guys, do not look past anyone. We are not looking past ECU.
Right.
And we are. I mean, I know Wilmington has had some issues with their rink and early on because of the storm and everything, and but we're not looking past them. You know what I'm saying? So I take no team for granted, and when you start doing things like that, bad things happen.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the guys just have to kind of just stay focused on one game at a time going into the tournament. we've got a couple of tough games coming up. Wake Forest is going to be tough. Clemson, I'm not really familiar with what they're doing this year, but usually it's, 1 or 2 goal game with them. The backyard brawl that's going to be a game in itself. We got Charlotte coming up, so the focus is more about, not looking past anyone and just one step at a time.
And that was word for word what Sam told me after the Virginia Tech game.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, it actually wasn't.
Okay.
He said the similar thing, of course, but you guys have the same mentality, which is obviously very important, as the relationship between the coach and the captain. But finally, before we end tonight's show, of course, the ACC tournament, that's coming up. That's going to be an exciting time for a lot of the players in a different venue this year, in the Annex, in Wake Forest. How much are you going to be able to like the proximity of this game versus the Charlottesville arena up in Charlottesville, of course?
I mean, we're going to wind up staying in Winston-Salem because, it's too much of a drive back and forth. I really don't want the guys on the road. So, whether you're on the road in Winston-Salem or on the road in Charlottesville, it's not really going to matter. That weekend is a season in itself, especially Friday night because, winners advance and the losers go home. So, coming in first, I mean, that's great. But if you don't win Friday night, it really didn't mean anything, right?
Yep.
So, it doesn't matter what kind of crowd is there. Again, that's something that guys have to learn to put aside.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed this year is that your guys are coming up in big-time events. Tyler Elfinzetti, of course, came up big time in the Delaware game. And in years past, you didn't really get knocked out of the tournament that early in the past several years. Of course, last year you guys did get knocked out in the second game. The year before that, I believe you guys were in the finals against George Washington, if I'm not mistaken. But that might have been from the year before. But nonetheless, you guys have really held in throughout the tournament. Is it sort of just like a kind of pushing the pace thing, keeping that mentality of always working, or is it just because you guys have some really good players?
No, I mean, you got to push that pace regardless of what's going on. Getting all the guys involved in the upcoming games, it's not to rest anybody or anything like that. It's just if they're needed, they're ready to go. They've got a game under their belt. So we want them to stay mentally sharp as well as, the guys that are kind of steadily playing. And, you listen, if you don't want to go home, then don't play like you want to go home. I mean, that's just a simple message. I'm sure every coach gives their team that message. So it'll be important that we go out and play our best hockey. And, if somebody ready for that challenge, then, you have to play a little bit better.
Well, Coach, I'm sorry that you had nothing better to do on your Monday night, but thank you for coming out and talking to me anyways.
Thanks for having me.
I'll be looking for your Christmas present in the mail, of course. But
sounds good.
Yeah. No spoilers, but can I get a hint?
Nope.
All right, I guess that's just the way it goes. Thank you guys for listening in on today's episode of Over the Board with the man behind the mustache, head coach Mike Gazzillo. We're going to see you next time here in this episode of Over the Boards here.